Reddit Fresh.
Am I the idiot for breaking a promise to take my niece and nephew for the summer? I, female 34, and my wife, female 35, were planning to keep her brothers, male 40, children, male 10, and female 7, for this summer as her brother and sister-in-law wanted a break and time to themselves. We figured this would work out as a long-term fostering just finished for us, and we'd been considering taking a break for a little bit to regroup and focus on our relationship before we took on our next placement. However, we got an emergency placement call last night with the agency asking us if we'd be open to taking on 3 children. Out of respect for them, I will not detail ages or genders, who needed immediate placing that would likely be long-term, and after asking for an hour to discuss it, we sat down together and decided we'd do it and called back to accept. However, given this and the attention these children will need because of their situation, we've decided bringing 2 other children not part of this sibling dynamic into the house for a long-term stay is not wise, so my wife and I called her brother to explain this, and I even suggested, as will be somewhat settled by then and in a routine, that if my wife wanted to take her niece and nephew somewhere for the weekend, perhaps to visit her parents, I'd be more than happy to hold down the fort with our new children so my brother-in-law and his wife could get at least a little bit of time together. My wife liked that idea and agreed it could work out, but my brother-in-law did not like it one bit and got upset with us both over this, as we'd promised, and it would break the kids' hearts. My wife was annoyed by this and said that it wasn't like he'd booked a vacation anyway, and he and his wife just wanted to spend time at their home, and it's not as perfect as the whole summer, but surely it's better than nothing. My brother-in-law then threw in our faces that his children were blood-related, and yet we were taking in strangers' children over his. My wife has a temper when our fosters are insulted, and she began to curse him out at this, and I took the phone off speaker at this point to let her calm down and told him if he felt that way, we'd be unable to watch his children at all for the foreseeable future, and while we loved our niece and nephew, we also loved all the children in our care, and until he realized that and apologized, he'd not get to take advantage of our child care. I also may have told him I hoped his children never needed to be in a placement like the ones we will be caring for. A low blow, I know, but my wife wasn't the only one annoyed. Since then, some of my wife's family have been hounding us over this and how it is unfair of us to let down the children, and how while I was her wife I had no right to take over the phone call at the end and make that decision alone. We've since stopped answering all calls from them for now. Maybe it was wrong to take over the call and to cancel plans we promised already. I don't care much about upsetting him, but I feel guilty for my nephew and niece as we broke a promise made. Edit. Hi guys, I'm a bit busy currently, so this is an update to answer top questions as I don't have time to respond individually. I'll try to check back in on this in a few hours, but may be unable to. My brother-in-law and his wife both work from home. There is plenty for their children to do in the area, and his wife's family also live close by for emergencies. It is no different from any other school holiday plan they have usually. We aren't leaving them in a rut with having to be at work with no one to watch the children. Also, there seems to be some confusion. We were never going to watch them for 3 months back to back. I'd be horrified at someone wanting to get rid of their kids for a quarter of the year. The summer is a phrase here referring to a point in the summer break. Our intention was to watch them for July. Not the idiot. What kind of parents think they are entitled to 3 months off from their children? Edit. The new info of it only being 1 month and the fact that OP offered does add some nuance to the situation, but I still don't change my judgment of NTA. If OP offered for 1 week and then retracted just because they changed their mind, I still think that would be legit. 1 month is still a crazy long time for something like this, and there was a very legit reason to retract. You're the idiot, as someone else mentioned. In foster care, there will always be emergencies and people who need you, but you can't help or save them all, and you need to be able to be firm on keeping time for the things you plan in your own life. That includes things like keeping this promise. It's really not great to break plans and promises to others once you have made them. For all you argue against it, you do care more about fostering kids than spending time with your nieces/nephews. It shows in your actions because you don't seem to have thought twice about dropping them and their visit. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for not letting anyone share my table at the park? I work in a large city. When it's nice out, I usually like to eat lunch at a park near my office. It is a decent-sized park with an ample amount of tables that anyone can use. On one particular lunch break, it was very nice out and the park was particularly crowded. I had to circle the park for a while before finding a free table. I sat and started to eat my lunch. My lunch spread and my handbag took up the majority of the table. A few minutes went by and a woman approached me, asking if she could sit. I said she could take a chair. It turned out I'd misunderstood her and she wanted to share the table. I was taken aback, since of all the lunch breaks I spent sitting by myself in this park, this was the first time I'd ever been asked to share a table. The table, like the majority of tables around the park, was small, only around 2 feet across. One would see 2 to 3 friends/coworkers share tables, but there wasn't much personal space, and I really didn't want to share with a stranger. I apologized and said I really preferred to eat alone. She looked dejected and left. Only a few minutes later, a man approached me, asking to share the table. I said sorry, I wanted to eat alone. He proceeded to put his belongings down anyway, saying that his asking was only a courtesy and he couldn't believe I actually said no. I was pissed and I told him that he could do what I did in Circle Park till the table opened up. He called me a B****ch and went off on me saying he just needed the table for a minute to fix his belongings. I went silent, wanting this interaction to end. He ended up apologizing to me, and I said sorry as well, just to get him to leave me alone. Am I the idiot for not wanting to share my table with strangers? I'd always share a table at a cafe with only a few tables, or if the tables were large, but in this situation I think I'm entitled to my personal space. This park has approximately 100 tables, one was bound to free up for them. If not, there are more tables a few blocks over. Not the idiot what kind of entitled nerds are replying to this post, but holy frick, nobody owes you anything. OP was asked if they would mind sharing and OP said no, it's as simple as that, respect people's boundaries. Public park doesn't mean no personal space. Not the idiot. Personally, I'd be just as uncomfortable if someone approached me and asked if they could join me when I'm sitting alone somewhere. At the end of the day, no matter how friendly someone may appear, they're still strangers to OP. You never know someone's intentions. If they just wanted the extra chair at the table, no problem, but it seems like these people don't understand personal space. Yes, it may be a public space, but that space is currently being occupied. The sense of entitlement of the second guy blew my mind. I'd be so nervous, especially after he said it was the courtesy of him to ask and called OP a witch after they declined. OP said no and the guy went ahead and did it anyway. I'd instantly feel unsafe. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for refusing to share a recipe with my sister-in-law? My beloved mother-in-law passed away recently. She had a few signature recipes that she always brought to family gatherings. One of them is a very unique dessert. I asked for the recipe for years and she would never share it. She finally passed the recipes down to me not long before she passed away, and I made all of them to share with friends and family at the repast meal after her funeral. I also made the dessert one other time to bring to a family gathering sister-in-law was hosting. My sister-in-law loves dessert. She keeps calling it her dessert and demanding I share the recipe with her every time we see each other. I feel like if mother-in-law wanted her to have it, she would have shared it with her, and the fact that she's already claiming the dessert as her own instead of calling it the name mother-in-law assigned to it is disrespectful to her memory. Mother-in-law did not specifically mention whether or not she was okay with me sharing said recipes. She did also share the recipes with my stepdaughter, 15, and one other grandchild, 19. Both agree that I should not share the recipes with sister-in-law. My husband thinks I'm being a little petty and it's not something I should start a family feud over. This is his brother's wife and his mother's recipes, so I do feel his opinion also matters. So am I the idiot? Edit, I do feel the need to add a little context here. 1. This is not my mother-in-law's daughter. It's her daughter-in-law. 2. I wasn't bringing my stepdaughter and niece into it as support for my argument, but as proof the recipes have already been handed down to the next generation by mother-in-law herself, and I am not the only person who has it. 3. My sister-in-law was not at all close with my mother-in-law because she treated her horribly, which is most likely the reason she didn't give her the recipes. 4. I did get one reply here that was actually constructive, and I may change my mind about sharing the recipe eventually. I do realize it's not my recipe. I feel it does belong to my husband's family. Typically, I'm not a recipe gatekeeper. I have shared my own late mother's recipes far and wide, including with the sister-in-law in question. I just didn't like the way she demanded to have it and claimed it as her own instead of putting due respect on my late mother-in-law's name. Final edit. I'm going to answer a few questions and try my best to set a few things straight, then I'm going to turn notifications off. First of all, thank you to everyone who gave constructive feedback. Also, thank you to the people who understood the sentimental value of these recipes. Some of you gave me some good ideas for how and when I want to share the recipes, and yes, I do plan on sharing them. First of all, yes, my niece, 19, is sister-in-law's stepdaughter. Brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and 19 are on a timeout right now. I will not go any further into that than to say it doesn't relate to this post. Sister-in-law is well aware of the name of the desert and who all the recipes were shared with. I have not clearly communicated how often I am over her claiming the dessert as her own, but I do plan on having the conversation privately. That said, my sister-in-law is not a terrible person. I actually do love her too, and have shared many recipes with her and she with me. Water under the bridge between her and mother-in-law had nothing to do with me. My husband is reading this thread also and wanted me to make it clear that we don't hate each other. We honestly believe she was given a difficult choice to make, but she did the right thing, even though it was hurtful to mother-in-law. She wound up where she was supposed to be. He also would like for it to be known that his mother was sometimes intentionally difficult, in case that wasn't obvious. Lol, he says that he believes she ultimately left the decision up to me because she trusted me to do the right thing. I believe sharing the recipes the right way could be a wholesome way of healing some generational trauma, and maybe the best way to honor her legacy of love. You're the idiot. Gatekeeping family recipes is petty and childish. Does it make you feel important somehow? I don't get this. People post this topic frequently. I think you're being rude and on some kind of power trip. It's not very nice. You're the idiot. What changes in your life if sister-in-law knows the recipe? No recipe is a total secret. It's already out there somewhere. Having two teenagers agree with you is not the flex you think it is. There is no one prettier than those who insist on hoarding recipes. Recipes are to share food, sharing food is sharing love, and you cook for those you love. Get over having one up on sister-in-law and just share the recipe. It will not change your life. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for lending my kids money for a down payment? I am not rich. I still have to work very hard for my money. That being said, I do earn over $200,000 in an average year. My kids are out of university and working but are having trouble purchasing houses. Even with government programs and such, the housing market is crazy. I have substantial savings and I tend to blow my money on random toys I want. Like I said, I work hard, and on my time off, if I feel like restoring old cars for fun, I will. My kids approached me about help getting a house. If they can go into a purchase with 25% down, they can save on fees and get a better rate. I thought about it and agreed to lend them the money in return for equity in the purchase. For example, if my daughter buys an $800,000 house and I lend her $200,000, then I own 1/4 of the house. If she sells it for $1 million, then I would get $250,000 back, since I would own 1/4 of the equity. She said I was being ridiculous and that I was an idiot for not just giving her the money, or at least having it be an interest-free loan. My son took up on my offer and bought himself a moderate home. Between a first-time home buyers program, my investment, and his partner's savings, we managed to buy a house for them with almost a 50% down payment. My daughter is still calling me an idiot for taking advantage of her brother and is just going to buy a condo she can afford on her own. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. It's not a loan. If you own equity in the house, you should want to help your kids. It's extremely tough out there these days. Every older person seems to have forgotten how easy and much more affordable it was to buy a house for them. I know no one is entitled to anyone's money, but I can't imagine not helping a child with something like this if I could. Are your kids not going to inherit from you one day anyway? You could look at it as an early inheritance. Not the idiot. I'm actually shocked people are not understanding what an unreal deal this is for his kids. One of the hardest things to do when buying a home is come up with a down payment. All they have to do in return is give an equal percentage return of the sale of the house they'd never have gotten in the first place without the loan. If you think this makes him an eye, you don't understand basic finances. And BTW, if he makes a profit, his kids also make a profit on the house they literally wouldn't have had without him, so also a win-win. What do you people expect? Him to just hand over a $150K down payment for free with no expectation of anything in return? Very dumb.